Now, you retired from the military back in the 80s?
83 was my last flight there. And I still work together. We all work together. We have military people in here. We work back together. We work very, very close.
Now, your whole life you've been an aviator, and you still kept flying after the military?
I still fly now. Oh, yes. I fly probably 2 or 3 times a week. Wife's a good pilot. My daughter's a pilot. So.
What is it about pilots? It's sort of a fraternity in a way.
You know, I think it is a fraternity in a way, but it's a certain thing certain of us possess. Now, a lot of people, I know at the end of the war, hell knows, a lot of those people never wanted to see a damn airplane again. But they were military trained. They didn't start at the airport cleaning airplanes and so on like that. They weren't the kid at the airport. But I think the kid at the airport that learned to fly the hard way and so on really is in it because they love it. It's a lifetime fraternity. That group, but not the type that were forced into the military to go out and boom, 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 boom. Most of those never looked at an airplane again. All right.
So is the freedom up there, you think, or what is it?
You know, there's a certain thing about it. I think, first of all, you're never going to master. I get Bob Hoover probably, man. He's the master. I think we all look up to, maybe Clay Lacey too, and a few of those people, and some of the factory test pilots. We all look up to them. I mean, they had unique abilities. They just wore an airplane beyond where we did. And I always figured I was a safe pilot and could fly about anything all the way through, and had pretty good military training all on top of my still, and I like flying. And I sure enjoy. I can go out and get in that airplane, and I got this problem and that problem. And hell, you get up there and fly a little bit, and you look down, you realize how damn insignificant your problems are. It just gives you a different perspective, and I think that's affected me all my life that way.
Do you get ideas up there?
Probably, well, my mind's clearer. But when I'm working on something, I learned one thing, and Bill Lear was a great teacher too. I knew Bill. He was a fantastic. Bill could carry 5 projects at the same time with 5 different engineering teams on him. And he knew exactly where they were, and God don't ad-lib on them. You were down the road. Now, Bill made a lot of people, and he destroyed a lot, but if they ad-lib, he was out. But he had a unique ability. I can carry 3. And I watched Bill always. He was a fantastic guy. In other words, he carried it here. But he knew, Bill played this game, he didn't know this. Hell, he was a fantastic mathematician and a physicist. Tried to get in with the best. And he projected things, and he put things together. But the biggest thing I learned, he could run 5 teams and know exactly what in the hell they were doing. I can't. I can run 3. But mostly, I've been a loner. I run my own. I don't use segmental development because I don't have time limits. Bill obviously had time limits. Like I don't have time limits. And I've done just about everything myself. I do this, and then I add, and I just through experience and watching patients and the feedback I get from all over the world from the different docs and so on. They're using this. It's been a tremendous, but it's all a team. It really is. I do the innovation. And for example, we take burn patients down that are burned, 75% of the body's burned, and inhalation's chemical and so on. And they've got legs blown off, and they fly these back in C-17s, I think 3 flights a week or so on, from over there. But they get them in all over, burn patients, and they bring them down in the burn unit down in San Antonio, the Army burn unit. And I think when they started about 15 years ago, we had about an 80% survival. That is down under probably 5% now. But all our ventilator does is one thing. First of all, they don't die of sepsis anymore. They're able to take care of it. So they die in pulmonary failure. And what they do is they put these patients on and they ventilate them from the first, so they don't die in pulmonary failure. And the surgeons, these surgeons are fantastic. They can take this protoplasm and you don't think it's anything. And they'll bring them back. And some of the prosthetics we have coming up and everything, it's fantastic what the military surgeons do. And all our respirator does, I say, is keep them alive so they don't die before they can do and get pharmacological stuff going on them.
What motivates you? Is it money or is
No.
No,
not at 88. Initially, I've always been done fairly well. I never had to worry about this. But I didn't aspire. I didn't get things I didn't need. And the airplanes, how could you beat all the military accent? I had staggering beaches, which I loved for years, and so on. But I always had my own airplane. But I think the motivation was doing something that worked. And I think innately we all want to serve each other in different ways, and that's a good way to do it. And I'm not a martyr in any way. I think the greatest thing was I did it. And I was able to take and show that I could do it. And I've never told any physician or anything else with my devices, something I couldn't do, that I couldn't demonstrate on them. And we have a little respirator that's that big, actually. It weighs 1.5 pounds. And any patient that's ventilatable, in other words, ventilate the lungs, it will do that. Now the military, they transport most of them with a little bit of a thing like that, and everybody's, well, how can that work? So we have that, and then we have the largest sophisticated units, so you can tell time or anything else, all integrated together.
Now, in your life, were you a religious type person or brought up that way?
I believe in a supreme being. I sure do, all the way through. And you know, the more adventures you've had, the more you believe. Now, I think the supreme being is whoever created all of this. And you realize the further you get down, a ship can only have one captain. And really, that's true. And I think religious, if we look into that, there had to be a creator we call God or whatever we want. There's somebody bigger than we, and I think every kid should go to church to realize there's somebody called God and so on. Teach them that there's somebody bigger than they are. And so many people, I mean, they get relief in that. They live that, and I think they should. I think it's one of the biggest things in the world. What I'm absolutely against is using religion for politics. And that's gone on since the beginning of time, as you see, all the crusades and so on. And I think that's what we're in right now, and it's sad. It's sad. And they all believe in the supreme God. And in the end, look, the Old Testament, the New Testament, you know.
Was music ever a part of your life much?
I learned to play the fiddle when I was a kid, but not very well. I never had time.
Now, in your life, you've met a lot of interesting people.
I sure have, wonderful folks.
Yeah, and built some friendships.
Many of them. And they were all, you know, it's funny. You do something. Now, I tell you, when I first got into starting to build stuff, I had docs that I would ask stuff. And damn it, they didn't know, and they'd bluff, you know, all the way through. And geez, sometimes they really hurt me. And at times I said, geez, when I learned medicine and learned this as best as I'll get even with. But you don't. In other words, you realize that's a fairly a man. But BS can really hurt a lot of people, especially in the scientific field. Because if you're not honest with each other and you go way on out, somebody can spend a whole lifetime, a good part of it, trying to do something based upon what you advise them. And then you find it's wrong. And that is really, really bad. I think that's one of the worst things that I see happening.
Looking over your life, you've had ups and downs.
I've had ups and downs, sure, and I've stayed with some. I've been at times when, my God, I was just, and I'm getting back to Bill Lear. He could run all, and to begin with, I'd get on one thing. I'd be following one line, and I couldn't solve it. Jesus, I was killing myself. I mean, God almighty, why the hell, a dumb bastard, you know, I'm not by myself. Okay? And then finally I learned to run multiple things, and I get snarled over here, then go on this and here, and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, hell, there's the answer here. And then you keep going, you don't get frustrated. And I learned that from Bill Lear.
They say a character comes a lot more out of during the hard times versus the easy going.
You know, I think growing up in the Depression, I didn't know it was hard times. Obviously, that's what we had. And what you don't have, you never miss. And growing up in the Depression, it taught you to be dependent on others, and others were dependent on you. And of course, with that bringing up, and then I think this is what, like World War II, we couldn't do what we did today. I don't think so, because we learned to be dependent upon each other during the Depression. And in the military, you darn well better depend on each other. You're going to get hurt.
What do you think has been your secret to success?
I don't think there's any one secret. I liked what I did, first of all. I don't think I've ever worked a day. I mean, there's days that damn irritating, trying to take and work this out and work that out. But everything was a challenge. My whole life's been a challenge. And I think I have pride, but I don't think any of us that really, like a guy like Bob Hoover, obviously he has to have fantastic pride to doing some of the factory pilots and others, probably even greater than mine. But you have to have confidence in what you're doing, and you better feel good about it. And today, I think so many people get in a rut. They get in something, and they're there, and pretty soon they're married, they got kids. They don't really like what they're doing. They really don't have pride in what they're doing. And I think this has evolved. And I don't mean to knock any profession, but medicine, engineering, so many. Years ago, gosh, there was something new. They'd all flock in. Let's learn to do this. Today, how many hours do I work? Do I get paid extra? Do I do this? How much time off? And so on. Straight through our whole damn society. And that's why sometimes you say, boy, somebody needs a kick in the pants to move them. That wasn't the way it was when I grew up, and especially World War II. Now, I saw changes in Vietnam. and also in the Vietnam War, and especially drugs got in and stuff like that. I can't ever remember that. I knew our jungle packs we had in our chutes in World War II, you left morphine in there, it disappeared. Somebody was selling it, but we never knew who did it. But it happened all the time, and you had to have it because if you got down, get hurt. So what happened was just before you'd have an overseas flight or so on, they'd put it in, they'd pick it up when you landed toward the end of the war.